Goedendag and welcome to PA Dutch 101. This is video 9 in our series, and we'll be dealing with the topic of forming questions and using question words, or in Dutch we'd say Frooge und Froogewadde. This is again a grammar-based video, and I would ask that you watch the previous videos in the series to have a better understanding of what we'll be talking about today. But let's jump right into it, forming questions. Frooge, the Dutch word for question is vroeg, plural frooge, so questions. When asking or forming questions in Pennsylvania Dutch, there are two methods that are most commonly used, and either one works. It just depends on the situation as to which one you use. The first method is what we call inverted word order, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. And the other is using a question word, which makes sense, I think, and we'll talk about question words after we cover what inverted word order is. Okay, let's talk about inverted word order. In some of the previous videos we talked about subjects and verbs, and we talked about how they show up in a sentence. And normally we say in a present tense sentence it's subject, verb, and then other stuff, whatever else might be in the sentence. But that is our typical word order, okay? Subject, verb, other stuff, period. That's what's normal, okay? Now, we can, well, here's an example in Dutch. Ich kauf ein Buch. I am buying a book. Subject, ich, verb, kauf, other stuff, and Buch. Ich kauf ein Buch. I'm buying a book. Follows this equation. Now, to turn this sentence into a question, without adding anything or taking anything away, we can use what's called inverted word order. And I think you figure out from the word inverted that we're going to be changing something. Well, all we do is we flip the verb and the subject. So when asking a question using the inverted word order method, your sentence structure will be verb, subject, other stuff. So the only thing we're doing is flipping the subject and the verb to go from a sentence to a question. If we take that exact same sentence, ich kauf ein Buch, turn it into a question without adding anything using the inverted word order, we're left with kauf ich ein Buch? Question mark. Am I buying a book? Simple, simple, simple. Just flip the subject in the verb. So that is how we do the inverted word order to create a question in Pennsylvania Dutch. The other possibility we have when forming questions in Dutch is using question words, or Froogewadde. In English we know them as the who, what, why, when, where, and how. Okay? Well, we want to go through those in Dutch. Questions can be formed by adding a question word, and just like in English, it goes at the beginning of the question. Why are you going home? When is your birthday? In English we always start with the question word as well, and we're going to do the exact same thing in Dutch. Okay? Now, when doing this, what's our word order? Well, it's going to be very similar to our inverted word order. We already know what comes first. The question word always comes first. Then the verb, then the subject, then the other stuff. Same thing in English. Why are you going home, for example? Okay. What is he buying? So it's the same thing as you've always been doing in English, it's just we're using other words. Same word order, same structure. Okay. Now, what are the question words in Pennsylvania Dutch? Well, let's go through them. The first one is wie, and we've used that one before. Wie. Wie, which is how or what, depending on what your question is. Wie spät ist es? How late is it? This is also the question we're going to use when we learn how to tell time. Or a question we've used already. Wie bist du? How are you? Okay. Wie. The second question word is another one we've used already. Wo. 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 Where? We learned it earlier. Wo wohnst du? Wo wohnst du? Where do you live? Was is what? Was. 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 An example, was ist sell? What is that? Was ist sell? The next one is wer. Wer, which means who. Wer. Wer ist sell? Wer ist sell? Who is that? Okay? One thing that I've noticed that some English speakers have trouble with is they always mix this one up. They see or hear the question word wer and think where, because it sounds like the English word. Don't do that. Wer is who is where. If you can remember in your mind, they sound the opposite of what they are. Maybe that'll help. But we want to make sure that we keep those separate. They're different meanings. Okay? And the last German or Pennsylvania Dutch question word, wie viel, how much. We used this when we did our video on the numbers. Wie viel ist 3 und 5? How much is 3 plus 5? Okay? So there they are. Wie, wo, was, wer, and wie viel. Okay. Let's use all this stuff we've been talking about and practice a little bit. Play a bit of lewing. So, turn the following sentences into questions. Here's a sentence I came up with in Dutch. I want you to think about it, take it, and turn it into a question using inverted word order. Our question is, der Boe trinkt een Glas Milch. Der Boe trinkt een Glas Milch. The boy is drinking a glass of milk. How would you turn that into a question using inverted word order? All we're doing is moving things. We're not adding or taking anything away. Give you a second to think about that. Turn it into a question, put the verb first. Trinkt der Boe een Glas Milch? Trinkt der Boe een Glas Milch? Is the boy drinking a glass of milk? Here's your second one. Die Susan kommt 3 Uhr. Die Susan kommt 3 Uhr. Susan is coming at 3 o'clock. Turn it into a question using inverted word order. Put the verb first. Kommt die Susan 3 Uhr? Kommt die Susan 3 Uhr? Is she coming at 3 o'clock? Is Susan coming at 3 o'clock? Here's another one. Wir sind daheim. Wir sind daheim. We are at home. Flip it, and you would get sind wir daheim? Sind wir daheim? Are we at home? And one more. Du bist dem John sei so. Du bist dem John sei so. You are John's son. Turn it into a question, flip them around. Bist du dem John sei so? Bist du dem John sei so? Are you John's son? Okay. So all of these we were using the inverted word order fashion. Put the verb first, put the subject sentence, put a question mark at the end, and you are done. Pretty easy. Okay. Now, we're going to take those exact same sentences, and this time let's turn them into questions using the question words. Now this is going to take a little thinking. So maybe you'll be flipping back and forth between your notes for the question words and figuring out what we need to use here. For example, let's go back to our very first sentence. Der Boe trinkt een Glas Milch. The boy is drinking a glass of milk. There's a couple different questions we could ask. We could ask, who is drinking a glass of milk? Or what is the boy drinking? We could ask a couple things. You choose which one you want. See if you can figure out how you would say that. We know all the words, and use the words that are in the sentence already. All you're going to have to figure out is which question word to use. Give you a second to think about that. I went with the form of, what is the boy drinking? Was trinkt der Boe? Was trinkt der Boe? But if you went with the question, who is drinking a glass of milk? Wer trinkt ein Glas Milch? Wer trinkt ein Glas Milch? You could do that too, just different question. Okay. That same sentence for the second one, die Susan kommt 3 Uhr. Again, you could have two questions from this. You could say, who is coming at 3 o'clock? Or when is Susan coming? It doesn't matter. Choose one, see if you can figure out how you'd say that in Dutch. I went with wann. Wann kommt die Susan? Wann kommt die Susan? When is Susan coming? Wann kommt die Susan? Wir sind daheim. Back to that one. We are at home. Well, we could ask, who is at home? Or where are we? Either one. Give you a second to think about which one you want to say and how you'd say it. I chose with Wo sind wir? Where are we? Wo sind wir? Wir sind daheim. Yeah, makes sense, right? Where are we? We are at home. Okay. And then that last one, Du bist dem John sei so. You are John's son. Couple different questions. Who are you, or who is John's son? Think about it. I went with, who are you? Wer bist du? Wer bist du? Okay. So again, when forming questions, two methods: inverted word order, flipping the subject and the verb, not adding or taking anything away, or using a question word. And remember that when you do that, it's question word, verb, subject, other stuff. Okay? Practice, practice, practice. Start walking around your house now asking questions. Use the question words. Point to something and say, what is that? We know how to say that. That was covered in the video. Or find someone in your house, walk up to them and say, who are you? Practice that. Okay? It's an easy way. Alright? So, that'll be it for this video on question words. Bis die nächste Video. Mach's gut und schwätz Deutsch.